even though it's a little towards the 7 o'clock hour. Sorry, getting late or later as we go, but it was a great Thanksgiving. I hope you guys all had a fantastic week. Obviously the short week. If you got Friday off as well, maybe you did a little Black Friday shopping. I didn't get a chance to go out for shopping, but that was fine because I have no desire to go stand in those lines and do all those things. We'll be talking about that a little bit, about how much the sales were this year in America. So congratulations on the huge record online sales we hit. We're going to be talking about that, talking about some of the other videos that we had done as well, and just kind of the reaction to what's happening. So let me log in here to a few different stuff, and then we'll get kind of rolling. But again, it's some fun stuff happening. All right, here we go. So we are on. There we go. But yeah, I do wish that everyone had a happy, prosperous Thanksgiving. Hopefully you were able to spend time with your family and do all the things that you wanted to do. And, again, so want to find out too, I've heard this twice now this year, as opposed to other years as well. Is Die Hard an actual Christmas movie as we go into the Christmas season? Is Die Hard a Christmas movie? I was at one place where they ranked it. About 70% of people said it was. So what are your thoughts about Die Hard being a Christmas movie? All right, so there's my thing on that one. Also, too, I'm curious as far as how people find this channel live. Okay, so if you're going to watch this on playback, I had this thought over the last week about when I'm trying to do this every Sunday night, trying to bring you some live entertainment, some live channels talking about the week, kind of going through what was going on. I'm like, all right, well, how do people find me? So I went to YouTube on my own, brought up, hey, let's look at all the different stuff, typed in live. Well, live, it meant everything. And then went in there and looked up, live channels right now. And I got a whole bunch of stuff from around the world. I mean, we're talking just around the world stuff. And I'm like, well, this doesn't make sense. I got from Australia to the UK. How do people find my little channel? How do people look up me and go, oh, gee, I want to watch that one? So that was kind of the weird thing for me on that aspect of it. But anyway, we're going through it. So let me live into the chat here. All right. Videos. So, chat. All right. So there we go. I just typed myself in there, but all right. All right. So what we got going on this week? I guess we're at 364 subscribers. So thank you very much. That actually went up a little bit going forward. We're marching towards 500 by the end of the year. So if you did find us, but yeah, back to my thing. How do you find live channels? Put that in the chat. Let me know if this is your first time watching this. Like, how did you find me? I really want to know, because I haven't watched any YouTube about how to find YouTube. I haven't looked that up, but I'm like, I'm a little channel. 364 subscribers, fantastic, great. But how do people find me, and why did you stay? And if you do stay. So we're at, 11 people watching right now. So that's great. And, just how do you figure that out one? But all right, so let's talk about what I did this week with videos per se. I did a Friday article, a Black Friday article. It was about Thanksgiving too. I went over there, and the reason I did that, because as you know, if you follow this channel, I like looking at the newspaper on Sunday, and I go through the perspective and the image and all the different things. I got to talk about that. This is the perspective page from this Sunday. It's got the bald eagle. And I went on an article for Reuters, and it talked a lot about how people are shopping this year, how they're going to change. And of course, it started off with the article about, oh, look, people are going to change the way that they shop because of the price tariffs and because things are so expensive. And I thought it was a dig at President Donald Trump. And I looked at it going, all right, I got to talk about this. So I went on there, and this week, that was last week, this week, a new article from Reuters shows up as well. There's no author though. And as I'm reading this and comparing my notes from the last one, I'm thinking it's probably about the same writer, which I don't even remember his name now. But if you got to take a chance, you got 10 minutes, it's actually a 10-minute video. Take a look at that and see. Let me know what you think, because I talk a lot about how tariffs aren't changing the way people shop. I talked about why people are shopping differently now. They're still buying the same amount, and it's just a matter of how they're actually doing it. Now, on this article that came out this week, U.S. Black Friday online sales hit a record $11.8 billion. Well, isn't that fantastic? Again, it's a record. It's $11 billion, and it's online. People don't have to stand in line. They don't have to go to the stores at midnight or 1 o'clock in the morning and stand in line on a curb, because that's what they don't want to do. And that's why this article goes through it. So it was one of the first paragraph. American shoppers spent a record $11.8 billion online on Black Friday, up 9.1% from last year. Final data from Adobe Analytics showed. Okay, well, great. Hey, look at that. People are not shying away from buying stuff because of the economy. They're not shying away from buying stuff because of tariffs. So all that stuff that the Reuters guy said is a problem, it's not. But it is interesting. He comes up and says luxury apparel and accessories among the most popular categories. So did you watch something? Did you go into the whole thing and buy different categories for luxury apparel? You know, because people aren't just buying your normal things. They're actually buying some big ticket items. And I did talk on the last article about TVs. Yeah, everybody either has a TV or doesn't need a TV, and they don't do it. So anyway, the article goes through about Cyber Monday too, which is big, coming up on Monday. Traditionally a big day for online deals. Expected to see the season's biggest online shopping day again. Adobe's predicting $14.2 billion in spending, up 6.3 from last year. So there's the whole thing right there. As far as stop worrying about the economy when it comes to Black Friday and Thanksgiving. It's what everybody's trying to say. The sky is falling. It's not. And then, of course, the very, very bottom last paragraph of the article. So there absolutely is a component of retailers trying to save margins because of the impact of tariffs. So again, that tells me that's the same writer that did the other article, because tariffs is not mentioned anywhere else in this thing except for the very last comment, which is what you're supposed to remember when you close and you finish. Oh yeah, tariffs are bad. So anyway, that was that article. I went through that one, but I didn't want to research that. So all right, so a big Trump guy, yes, thank you. Was it Jerry Swinger? So yes, definitely a big Trump guy. How do you feel about Trump being a kid sniffer? Well, Jerry, I think you're messing that up with Joe Biden, because he's the one that's on videotaping and what people watching him do that. So I don't think that was intended for that. I don't know. But anyway, I'm glad you said hi. So thanks for being here. As a Hamill fan, I don't know if that's Hamilton or what, but thank you for being here. All right, so appreciate you guys putting in the chats, putting in the comments. I try not to be distracted when I have this agenda that I want to get to, but it happens. So that was one of them in there. I also did a video about the fraud that's happening right now in Minneapolis and Minnesota with the Somali population. I kind of went through there, and I did some shorts too about it. Some of the judges overturning rules, overturning a jury, said this guy was guilty, and one lone judge just says no, we don't want him to be guilty, and they overturned it. So that was kind of weird. We're following those stories going forward. I think that fraud in the Somali community in Minnesota is going to be a long, long time of unraveling. We're going to get to the details and bottom of all of those things. I don't know. Ilhan Omar, is she going to be deported? That's kind of on the agenda too. I don't know. But while I was researching that though, I found the whiteness pandemic. So I don't know if you guys saw that video I put up there from the University of Minnesota. They have classes upon classes, and there's books that they recommend you read about the whiteness pandemic and what that is. I don't want to go through it, but it was really, really weird when, again, I'm talking about something completely different, and then these things start popping up from the University of Minnesota. So I thought, wow, wait a minute, I gotta really look into that. So that was one of the things I did on there. The shorts happened and went to Virginia Tech's football game. I also went to University of Tennessee's yesterday versus Vanderbilt, which was a great game until it wasn't, but I'll put some videos up on that one. Turkeys wobble and gobble. Talked about that, about Trump pardoning those. I talked about ICE taking kids. That one thing that I read, I was looking at, and then I heard subsequent videos about it. Everybody's like, oh, ICE is taking kids. And no, it wasn't a kid. It was a guy who was basically a senior that had left for lunch, and he was screwing around with the ICE, trying to stop them and ramming his cars and all kinds of stuff. You can watch that whole video. Actually, it's a short. And then we're finding more and more about those things. So one thing I did want to mention about that, going a little bit further, was the Chicago public schools, I don't know if you've seen this or not, but the Chicago public schools are giving free attendance passes to immigrants if they are afraid. Well, why wouldn't you be afraid? Why wouldn't you take the day off if you could do all of that? Why would you not, if you're in school and you have a day off or the ability to get a day off with a free attendance pass, why would you not take that? And I did a video of what was happening in Mecklenburg County and North Carolina with the ICE raids, the Charlotte's Web ICE raids going through all the people. And of course they said, 22% of the kids have missed school. Well, yeah, you're giving them opportunities. And the idea was 8 to 10% of the kids miss school anyway on a regular day. It doesn't matter what day of the week it is. They're just sick. They're out. They're traveling, whatever. 8 to 10%. So big 22% isn't big when you're allowing them to leave. And there's no penalties for it. Hold the kids accountable. Say, hey, sorry you're scared, but school is important. And ICE is not picking them up. But that was a kind of a weird scenario. Again, it comes down to let's make something big out of nothing. Now, I get ICE. If you are an illegal immigrant and you decide to stay in this country illegally, that's kind of on you. Your kids, yeah, they shouldn't suffer. And I did talk about that in depth on the video. But at the same time, you can't allow them to get through this because that's going to just punish them for the rest of their life. By the way, that's the way that they're thinking on there. And I'm really I'm worried. I'm worried about the future of that whole scenario. Speaking of that, there was an article today in the paper. This is another writer's author, David Hood Nuno. And most Latinos feel situation has worsened. Okay, so that's the article coming out today, 11:30. And it talks a lot about most Latinos feel situation has worsened. Now, this is how the article starts. So let's just get word for word, quote, a majority of U.S. Latinos believe their situation has worsened under President Donald Trump. A Pew Research Center poll released on November 24th found the first such deterioration since the poll began tracking almost 20 years ago. So that's how it starts. That's the very first paragraph. Let's talk about the very last paragraph because it's not a very long article. The very last paragraph says the economy ranked as the top issue among Latinos in the 2024 election. And while the cost of living remains high, about half of Latinos surveyed said they expect the situation to improve. So you got bad at the beginning and, oh yeah, it's not that bad at the end. And it goes through there too. The Pew Research did 4,923 Latinos. So let's just say 5,000. I'm rounding up. It's fine. 5,000 Latinos. Of that 5,000, 1,116 says they were immigrants. Now, it doesn't say legal or illegal. It just says non-person organization said 1,116. Of the Latino respondents were immigrants. About 82% of Latinos are in the United States legally. Okay, so that's that's two sentences. So I'm like, all right, so 18% of Latinos are illegal. And I don't know how that translates into 1,116 of 5,000 said they're immigrants. So it's just the way they use numbers. Just be careful when you're ever reading articles and trying to get research. Read between the lines when you're looking at actual articles. And then they just go on to say, but they agreed that some people do need to be deported. So just, again, reading truth between lines. That's the whole channel. We're not necessarily a news organization, but we do come together to read between lines and figure out the truth because that's where you actually find it. And that's the whole gimmick of this whole thing. If you're tuning in for the first time, thank you guys for being here. I do encourage you to like and subscribe. It helps the channel out a lot. But it's one of those things where I'm just reading things, trying to figure out, like, is this legitimate? Is this for real? Are people actually thinking this along these lines for real? And that's where I want to find out. So if you know something about that, put it in the chat, shoot me a comment. Let me know what you think on that aspect of it, because it's just, there's so many things hiding in a lot of it. But anyway, we'll move on. I did want to talk about the big news for today, kind of what I'm seeing with this autopen that President Trump is talking about now, nullifying all of not all of them, but 92% of Joe Biden's autopen. So all the stuff that he kind of did towards the end of his presidential run, We're going to see a lot of people. I'm wondering, Adam Schiff, his name came up. I'm looking at Fauci's name came up. And I'm like, all right, what President Joe Biden, what is he saying about his autopen? Because I looked it up. I looked at couple different scenarios of different news organizations. And the only thing I could find about it was going back to June and July of this year about how he says, no, I signed them. I signed everything. Okay, well, if you signed everything, that was June and July. He came out and said that. Now it's November, the end of November for that matter. It's November 30th. What is he hiding now? Or why isn't he coming out saying, hey, yes, all of this is 100% my opinion? Now, the idea is if he says that and it's not, he's committing perjury. So where's that balance of, yes, he did it versus, well, he's not going to tell you he did it because he doesn't want to. It is a very interesting time because if all of these pardons that he threw out there, if 92% of the pardons are just termed nullified, well, I mean, what happens? I guess we're going to find out. Where's President Biden in this? Where's, former Vice President Kamala Harris on this thing too? Why are they not coming out there? I mean, President Joe Biden was supposed to be fit. He was supposed to be running laps around people in the White House and such a great spirit that he should be all over this thing saying, no, I did it. And we're not seeing that. So I'm just curious how that all plays out and how this is going to end up. How far is President Trump going to take this? And of the 92% pardons, how many of those, I mean, he says he's going to nullify them, but how? What were the actual ramifications of that going to be? And I guess we'll find out. We'll figure it out. So there's some there. I got over to the perspective. So again, if you're tuning in right now, this is from November 30th, 2025. And I loved reading the newspaper, looking at the truth between lines. So I appreciate if you guys have just logging in now for the first time, but there's a whole thing about prove your citizenship. And this is one of those touchy things. Like, I get it, not like Biden touching the women, the girls, but this is more of like the whole idea of this is the thing about kids coming to America for a better life, like taken by their parents, dragged here, however you want to look at it, and setting them up in school and free education. So it's hard. And we can talk completely about the whole thing. And if you are a former illegally illegal immigrant coming here as a kid, I actually really would like to talk to you somewhere down the line. It's kind of a thing where, you're safety wise and confidentiality and all that. But this is the headlines. It talks to two different people talking about it. And these two people basically are for the Tennessee public schools facing a new challenge. So if you're not familiar with what's happening in Tennessee right now, they're trying to pass a law so that illegal immigrant children, children that are here illegally, I should say, won't get public education. So it's an interesting thing. And again, put some information in the comments. Let me know what you think. But the headline on this one is a former undocumented student. I know it's at stake under Tennessee law. I mean, I get it. If you were, she was deeply troubled by the proposed state legislation that would deny undocumented students access to public education. Okay, I get that. Goes further. She said when she came here, she spoke no English at all. And she carried the anxiety of my immigration status every single day, the fear of being separated from my family, of losing my ability to study, of having my dreams end before they even begun. I'm like, oh my God, what parents would put your kid through that every day they're fearful? And that's a bad place to be, I think. It does not talk at all in this article I'm talking about from November 30th. And it does not talk at all about how she got here. So we didn't talk about that. We don't talk really about much personally, which she wrote the article, so she doesn't want to do it. She's a guest columnist. Rosemary Alvarado. As again, I apologize. I don't mean to mess her name up. I never, ever want to mess anybody's name up. I'm a simple guy. But why aren't the parents legal? That's what I want to know. Those are the questions I have for Rosemary and kind of figure out what they were. So, but I look at this too. Again, it's a touchy subject, but if they don't know anything about English, the first thing we have to do is teach them English. If you're going to an English speaking school, you should be able to speak the language of all the other students, because if you don't, what are you going to get? So Despite being undocumented, I learned I belong. My school didn't just teach me English and algebra. It taught her that she belonged. It pushed me into leadership roles, including serving with Centro Hispanos Latino Youth Leadership Program. I'm like, all right, well, maybe besides English and algebra, maybe we should be teaching her how to be a better person, about how to do better things for America. Maybe talking about American history. How about that? Let's talk about the Revolutionary War, talk about taxes, talk about tariffs, how they all come in. But she's gone on to now gave me the courage to advocate through the Tennessee Immigrant and Refugee Rights Coalition. It's a statewide organization that fights for the rights and dignity of immigrant communities. So today I work at the Highlander Research and Education Center, an institution with a historic legacy of fighting for justice and building leadership in the South. So those are the things that she is now proud of, and that's what she does now, this Rosemary girl. And I'm like, yeah, that's what we need. We need more advocates for building leadership in the South. I'm like, we need that just like we need more YouTubers. That's what we need. We need to, I mean, myself included. It's like we really don't need that. And per se, there's some good and bad of it, but at the same time, if public education, and that's what she got out of public education, that she had to come up to help others to do the same thing that she did. I mean, become a teacher, become an actual person that helps grow the minds of kids, not through other nonprofit. I would assume they're nonprofits. It doesn't say anything about that. I didn't have time to look at it. So anyway, let me know in the comments. Let me know in your thoughts about those kind of things, the articles that, again, I'm reading on these, the notes that I'm taking on there. Again, it's touchy, so I just don't know where to fill that. I really don't know, to be honest with you. You know, as much as I don't claim to know everything, I certainly do not know everything. But at the same time, I want to figure stuff out. And that's what I'm asking. I'm asking for honest truth on that one. So, all right. So there's that. And upcoming this week. So we'll talk about upcoming this week. I'm going to do a couple videos, a couple feel-good videos. I met a guy named Robert Brazil. He's Dr. Doom from the Houston Oilers. He is a great... Put that up right there. I'll be talking about his career. Super, super nice guy. And he signed this for free for me. And it was one of those things where I'm like, I want to get back to him. And because I honestly didn't know who he was. I mean, he walked up to me, and I'm 6'4", about 265 pounds. And this guy walked up to me, and he's just a tad bit taller than me, and he's slender now and everything else. I'm looking, I'm like, okay, I know you're somebody, because you got to be, because it's just the way he was moving, the way he carried himself. I'm like, this guy's somebody. But I didn't know. Then he signs it with, HOF for Hall of Fame. And I'm like, oh, okay, I got to look into you. So we're going to be doing a video about him. We're going to be talking more about why people are voting for socialists. There's a big election coming up on Tuesday for the Tennessee House. It's going to be very interesting to see, because another, they call her the AOC of Tennessee. I mean, I would imagine, I haven't really watched her whole politics. I watched how much of an idiot she is, but I haven't watched her actual politics. So I'm curious to find out if people fall for this. But we are going to be talking about kind of why people do fall for this. And I'm looking at it like, there was another thing I was reading, and it talks a little bit about, oh, people just don't know the candidates. They don't know how it's going to affect them, or all these things. And I'm like, no, people know exactly what's happening with these things. They know exactly what they're getting. And why would you not want to come in here and say, hey, everything is free? No. And I'll pause there. Cicero Peep, I saw you clicked on there. Hey, it's me. Good. Hello. Thanks for joining me again this week. I watched a few of your videos. You actually do some really good timing on your stuff. The songs that, clips of the songs you were doing. Well done with what your actions were, depending on the video and all that stuff. So anyway, hey, Cicero Peep. And hopefully I'm saying your name right. Make sure I'm saying Cicero Peep right. Anyway, good to see you again. But back to this. So we are going to be talking about the education behind the whole thing. Okay, good. I am. All right, good. All right. And I'm looking at it, why the left can't defend their values. Because I see a lot of these great things that people I watch, I won't mention any quite names, but there's a lot of people that go out there in the crowd and they say, hey, tell me your position. And they're like, oh, we're Antifa, or we're this, or we're No Kings. We're demonstrating for protesting on this thing, or abortion's a big issue. And then you start to ask them the simple questions like, why are you here? What are you doing? Why do you feel this way? And then they start talking, and then they realize, oh, wait, I actually said the quiet part out loud. And in their head, they're realizing, hey, that doesn't sound right. Like when I actually say it out loud, I actually don't believe that. And that's why all the conversations get shut down. That's when people start turning to violence, just like Charlie Kirk always said. He said, once the conversations start, that's where violence begins. And that's what we're seeing when it hits. And I think that's why. So we're going to be talking a lot about that going forward down the road, why people are moving towards democratic or tendencies or socialism, or whatever name you want to call communism, why they're going that way. So we'll look for some videos coming up about that. And then we'll be going through just basically what's happening. And there's so much happening right now as we go to the end of the year. I mean, I think President Donald Trump wants to have a huge monster announcement coming up. I haven't seen what that is about, but I saw something about it was coming out. And it's an interesting time as we move towards these last, we just finished Thanksgiving. We'll move towards the rest of the year and Christmas, of course. And if how many people are not calling it Christmas, how many people are not saying Merry Christmas, how many people are not calling it a Christmas tree. There's a lot going on. But anyway, all right, so there's that. I kept it under 26 minutes or half hour at least anyway. But if you want more information, please like and subscribe. If you're finding us for the first time, and Sister OP, put this in there too. If you're like, how did you find me? I'm just curious. Put that in the chat. Put that in the comments. You were a little late in the whole thing, but go back later on and watch the whole thing, because I actually have a legitimate question about how people find my small little channel with 364 people subscribed, how you actually find me on this vast universe that we call YouTube. Anyway, thank you guys so much for being out there. Thank you for all the support. I really pray for your families, that you do well, that you're all safe, you got enough food over Thanksgiving. And I just hope that we can go into the holiday of Christmas more united than we've ever been. So anyway, God bless you guys. Have a great week. Look for some more upcoming things. And this has been Truth Between Lines.